Hello everybody, my name is Kennedy Hawkins and I'm a junior here at the university from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. We're going to learn about all things finance. So I have a couple friends here that want to introduce themselves.
Hi there, my name is Spencer Morris. I'm a student services supervisor at One Stop. One Stop is your spot for all questions related to admissions, records, financial specifics, and then of course, like we'll talk about today, financial aid.
Hello, my name is Tim Woods. I'm with the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships, and I'm very excited that you joined us here this evening. Our department assists students each year with the application process and the awarding of all forms of financial aid, and we're delighted to be here and share some really helpful information for you guys this evening. Thank you.
Now I know when I was an undergraduate student, the sort of info that we'll talk about tonight, I had convinced myself that it was extremely confusing and tough to approach. And what we want to do tonight is just explain to you that it really isn't. It's something that you can understand and that we want to help you understand as well. And I think there's no better place to start with that sort of idea than why you should choose UT in the first place. Approximately 50% of all UT students graduate with no debt. That's right, no debt. More than 80% of our graduates are employed or in graduate school within 6 months of graduation. 92% of entering UT freshmen and 85% of all of our undergraduates just overall receive financial aid and scholarships from federal, state, and private sources. And then, of course, all of our graduates join a global network of more than 250,000 alumni ready to help open doors for fellow Vols.
Now, many of our admitted students may have just started receiving their financial aid offer letters, and the letters came in one of two forms, either accepted offers or estimated offers. Don't panic. If your offer is estimated, that just means we needed some additional information from you. But on your award letter, if you've received this, it's going to provide some details about cost of attendance, both direct cost and indirect cost. It's going to include detailed itemized awards that have been offered to you, whether those are scholarships, grants, student work-study programs, federal loans, state loans, and how we're going to assist you in meeting that cost of education. It's going to have a breakdown to help you understand what your part of the cost is after your financial aid is applied, and we really appreciate you being here this evening.
Now, with all of the information that we have talked about and will talk about tonight, it's not going to be useful to you unless you know what to do with it. So your next steps from here, the biggest thing is just watching out for the financial aid award letter that Tim was just discussing a moment ago. You may have already received it. If not, it is on its way. You should receive it before the week is out, so keep an eye out for that. Using that award letter and your MyUTK account, you can review, accept, and finalize your financial aid. Begin making those decisions. Do I want to accept loans? How much? What kind? And just being aware of your financial aid overall. From there, if you haven't already, you can confirm your enrollment to the University of Tennessee. That just requires logging into your MyUTK account and paying the $250 enrollment deposit. I recommend doing that as soon as possible because it gets the ball rolling for next steps in the process too, but your last day to do that is May 3rd, so you must do that by May 3rd. Now, a couple optional steps for you, but we think they're really important, so we wanted to include them. You should add an authorized user to your account if you want anyone else to be able to speak on account specifics. Federal law protects student information, and we're glad for that, but if you have anyone else that you'd like to be able to speak with One Stop or Financial Aid or any other group here that works with these specifics, you need to add them as an authorized user on your MyUTK account. And if you have additional questions about that, you can find more info on our website or reach out to One Stop directly. And then, of course, you can set up an e-refund, a direct deposit account through your MyUTK account as well. Even if you don't expect to be receiving a refund, it's still a really good thing to set up. Just getting the practice of, because once you have it set up, unless your account changes or something like that, you are good from then on out. And you can go to our website to learn more about the specifics of that process as well.
So if you've reviewed your financial aid information, you may have realized you were selected for verification. Don't panic. Verification is something that's required. The U.S. Department of Education is necessary for colleges and universities who offer federal assistance that they verify the information that you reported on your FAFSA. If you're selected, you can go to MyUTK and view those requirements. We recommend complying with those requests just as soon as possible. We do need that information by no later than July 1st, but we're here to help you. If you have any questions about it, just reach out to our office, Spencer's office, and we'll guide you on that process. It's important to remember that that information does need to be made available to us by no later than July 1st, so that we're able to disperse your aid and there aren't any delays in you receiving your funding once the fall term begins.
So it's important to myself and Tim and everyone here at UT that this information that we're providing doesn't just work, but that it works for you as well. We realize that each situation when it comes to financial things is specific. And so that's why we offer payment plans for your payments each semester. I'll just take a moment to talk about our deferred payment plan as a good example. So every semester we give you the option to, instead of paying every single thing up front, being able to split it into 3 smaller payments. So you can see my example here, and if you're quick at math, you probably already know how that plan works somewhat, but instead of 100% being due at the beginning, we split it into 3 payments. The first is then 50% of your balance, the second is 25%, and the third is 25% as well. The first installment happens before the term begins, the second is about a month and a half after, and then the third is about half a month after that. So all in all, it just spreads everything out throughout the semester. I've got some specific examples of what that can look like. So basically the way it works, you take your direct costs, tuition, mandatory student fees, housing and dining, subtract out your financial aid, and then just spread it out the way that I mentioned a moment ago. It's not something you have to do, but it can be a really good option to make everything just a little bit more manageable.
So once you've reviewed the information on your financial aid offer, you may realize that you need some additional funds. And again, our offices are here to help you with that information. Don't hesitate to contact us. The Federal Department of Education offers loan programs for parents. So the parent is the borrower of an undergraduate student and can borrow those funds to assist with meeting anything that's missing from your financial aid. So if you're lacking enough to pay 100% of that cost, a Parent Plus loan may be an option for you. We have information about the Parent Plus loan on this URL. And then lastly, private student loans could be an option for a student and a family. Often the private loans require a cosigner. We would generally suggest that private loans be sort of your last option if you need to borrow. Federal loans are usually offer the best terms, so if you're offered any federal student loans, consider those first, and then if necessary, parent loans and private student loans to help with offsetting your cost of attendance.
If you choose any of those loan options, we really recommend doing your homework. We're always going to be recommending safe borrowing practices, and we know that it can be a lot to think about that sort of thing, and so we're here to help you with that. You can reach out to us at One Stop Student Services. I have our website and our email address there, and I'll have our phone number in just a moment. And a lot of what I've talked about has seemed very reactive. If this happens, you can ask us a question. But we also are in the process of education as well, and wanting to be proactive too. And that's where our Center for Financial Wellness comes in. There you can learn a whole lot more about everything we've discussed today, and then some. You can learn about spending plans, budgeting, and a whole lot more. Their website is available on the screen too. And then, of course, we've used a lot of very specific information. There are a lot of terms that go into financial specifics like this. So if you go to that last website on the screen there, you can learn a whole lot more about those terms as well.
So we've covered a lot of information for you this evening, and we know you're going to have some questions, so we're very excited about those forthcoming questions, and we look forward to answering those with you tonight. If you have questions after tonight's event, here you can contact us at onestop.utk.edu, and here's our phone number as well. So I think at this point we're going to turn the floor over to our student for incoming questions. Thank you.
Yes, so Spencer and Tim just gave us a lot of information that's going to be helpful for you during your transition to UT. So now we're going to go into the Q&A portion, and I'm getting questions live right now, so let's get started. So first, do financial aid letters go to all students or to those that confirm first?
We send financial aid offers to any admitted student who's applied for financial aid, whether you've been awarded a scholarship from the university or any federal or state financial aid that was a result of your FAFSA form. And we send that in a summary form like that example letter we showed earlier in the slides. It's going to outline the cost of attendance, and it's going to show the subtractions of that funding once it's applied to your cost, and really help you understand that information. We send that to all admitted students who have applied for aid.
And there's no requirement for you to pay that enrollment deposit to confirm your enrollment. Obviously, we're going to be a little bit biased to the color orange, but you need to be able to make the best decision possible. So no requirement to confirm enrollment before you get that financial information.
Okay, they keep rolling in. So next, does UTK accept the UT Promise?
The University of Tennessee does offer, here at Knoxville, does offer the UT Promise. This is different from the Tennessee Promise. Now, the Tennessee Promise is a statewide funding program for those students who are enrolling in the community college system. But the University of Tennessee system also offers an award called Promise for financially qualified students to assist with meeting the tuition and fees. So if you qualify for the UT Promise, that would be included in those award letters that were just sent out, and for some students that are just arriving at their home addresses.
So is there a certain time frame when parents should apply for the Parent Plus loan for 2021?
I talked about earlier, making those decisions early if you can and finalizing your aid and that sort of thing. So as you begin receiving pieces of the puzzle that we're talking about today and, understanding your cost of attendance, if you determine that the Parent Plus loan is the best option for you, then I recommend doing it as soon as you can. It can take some time for processes like verification, like we talked about, and like the Plus loan itself to go through. So if you've determined that that's the best option for you, I recommend doing it as soon as you can. Kind of similar to verification like Tim was talking about, I recommend having most financial specifics squared away by July 1st, but that's not really a hard and fast deadline. You still can apply after that, but I recommend doing it sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Spencer. So if I didn't receive my letter in the mail yet, is there a way to see my financial aid package online?
Definitely. If you haven't received your printed letter, you can log into the MyUTK website and look at My Financials to see if you have been awarded financial aid. If at that point you don't see any information available, then definitely reach out to mine and Spencer's areas and see if we can assist you, see if we need any additional documentation. Sometimes students and families make small errors on their FAFSA form. They miskey a digit on their social security number or spell their name differently on the form itself, and little things like that can cause delays. So be proactive, look at the information online, and don't hesitate to reach out to us because we're here to help you.
So this next question is for me. So why did I choose UT? So like most students, when you ask them this question, they'll tell you UT was not their first choice. It wasn't my first choice either. I did not like the color orange, did not see the point of a volunteer. It was just not my thing. And I wasn't even sold by the tour. But it was after when I told people that I was interested in UT and that I toured UT that every alumni that ever went here was gushing about how their experience at UT was so amazing, and everybody had a different story about how something at UT just changed their life for the better. And then once I finally committed and was like, you know what, I'm gonna come here, I swear it's like I don't regret my decision at all. The connections I've been able to make, my advisors, the mentors, the different opportunities I've been given just because I'm a Vol alone, regardless of the classes or anything else, have just been phenomenal. So definitely a 10 out of 10 recommend. So next we'll move on to the next question. So how long do you need to be an in-state resident to get in-state tuition?
So that's actually sort of a common misconception. Residency is very specific. Whenever you apply to UT, we look at a number of different things to consider residency. Not just filling in that address line, but where did you graduate from high school and other things like that. And we're considering a lot when it comes into that. And so I've had more than one conversation where someone says, hey, I'm in-state, but it says I'm not in-state. What do I do? So when it comes to residency, if you see your residency and you think it's incorrect or you have specific questions about it, please reach out to us. And actually, if you spoke to me over the phone, I would say, okay, let me get you to a specialist. We have specialists within our office of the registrar that specifically work with residency. So I don't know of a specific time frame quite like that, but there are certain situations that we would want to be able to talk to you about a little bit more.
Okay, so now we have a two-part question. So one, if I think my EFC is wrong from the FAFSA, what suggestions do you have? And second, do I have to file the FAFSA every year?
Okay. If you believe the EFC, the expected family contribution number on the FAFSA form, isn't representative of your situation, then absolutely we encourage you to contact our One Stop and financial aid staff to see if we can talk through the situation and see if there was an error on the form, or if you're experiencing a unique situation, a special circumstance, because the FAFSA form is asking for, in some cases, almost 2-year-old financial data, and your situation may have changed last year, and we're very interested in helping you if it's at all possible, and some students may qualify for a special circumstance appeal. And so that's something we would want to have a dialogue with you to understand what's happening in your particular situation, and if there's anything we can do to assist in qualifying you for the most possible funding. Could you read that second part of the question to him?
Sure. It was, do you have to file the FAFSA every year?
The FAFSA is required every year. There are many forms of financial aid that the University of Tennessee offers, and it's a mandatory form. If you're a state of Tennessee resident and you're anticipating receiving our Hope Lottery Scholarship, it's required that you file that FAFSA each year. But some of our need-based scholarships, like our Pledge and our UT Promise and flagship programs that we offer to qualified incoming students, they do require a FAFSA annually. The FAFSA is also used to determine if a student is eligible for a variety of different forms of federal and state aid, but there are new scholarship opportunities, competitive awards that students can apply for each year, and although many of them are merit-based, some may have a financial need component to those scholarship opportunities, and if we don't have your on-time FAFSA form, we may not be able to consider you for all those different opportunities each year.
And I know that I'm speaking for you as well when I say this, Tim, but I've had more than one conversation where someone says some version of, well, I don't really want to do the FAFSA because, I don't really get anything from it. All I do is loans. If you are wanting to use those federal direct student loans, you do have to complete the FAFSA. And honestly, even if you're not really sure you're going to get something, there's no downside to doing it. So while there's no strict requirement here at UT that you have to do it for your enrollment or anything like that, I'd recommend to any student and family that I speak to that you complete the FAFSA.
Okay, so I bet this next one is a very popular question. So how do I figure out what scholarships I'm receiving, and when does that info come out?
So if you're qualified for any of our 4-year scholarships that we offer, such as our volunteer or our pledge scholarship, for example, we're including that in the information that we're sending out to students. It's automatically included if you meet those eligibility requirements. Some awards are competitive by nature, so if you submitted a competitive freshman scholarship application, some of the decisions for those types of awards have been announced, and any information that we know about at this point were included in those snapshots of that financial aid offer. It's not impossible that some additional awards would be made at a later time, particularly if we have students who may have declined a competitive award offer. There are often alternates in mind, and those are some of the best calls to make. I love to reach out to a student and a family and say, hey, guess what? The person we initially offered this award to has declined, and we know we're getting close to May 1, so we wanted to alert you. If you get selected for a scholarship or a grant or any other form of assistance, we're going to contact you. We're going to notify you. We update students if any changes have happened to their financial aid, if they've qualified for something new. We send out a new email to alert you that there's been some addition to that funding. So thank you.
Okay, so this next one's for me. So as a new Vol, how did you and your family talk through the financial aid packet? So I was lucky to have a parent that was very involved with me in this process. So my mom, she took on a lot of the heavy super stuff and just told me everything that I needed to know. But the great thing about UT is that we have places like One Stop for even if we don't have the parents that are going to be super involved, or even if your parents don't know, you can go and they can ask you, and you can ask them any questions that you have. They can help you with any aspect of your financial packet, and if there's anything that you're unsure about or you think may be incorrect, you can fix it through them. So that's kind of like, we utilize them a lot. Even now as a junior, I utilize the One Stop a lot when it comes to financial things and just scholarships, everything financial. It's, you never stop using them. So get used to it now, because they're not gonna go away until you graduate. Okay, so next, sorry, I keep forgetting I have another question. So next, if you receive the Merit Scholarship, can you still receive financial aid?
Absolutely. In many cases, students are allowed to combine a variety of sources of financial aid. We may have students who are offered a merit scholarship from the University of Tennessee, and if they're a Tennessee resident, they also qualify for the Hope Lottery Scholarship. Those can absolutely be combined. If that student elected to pursue a student loan, they can receive that in addition to that. Generally speaking, students can receive financial aid up to the full estimated cost of attendance, and that can include what you're paying for your tuition, your fees, your housing and meal plan, but also provide funding to assist with some of your indirect costs that you're going to encounter throughout the school year. That may include what you purchase books and supplies, and costs for local travel, just incidentals that everyone's going to encounter throughout the academic year. But we suggest that all students and their families plan for all kinds of expenses, both the expenses for direct cost at tuition, fees, room and board, and those indirect costs, so you're well prepared and survive the school year with a good plan of success.
Awesome. So next, does a student have to be fully committed to UT before applying for either private or parent loans?
No, you do not. Most of those processes, apart from private, the federal processes like the FAFSA or applying for PLUS loans, you do not have to be committed here at UT or admitted or anything like that just yet. Now, like Tim had said, you're not going to get a financial aid package from us until you are actually admitted and until you've done more of those processes, but you can absolutely get the ball rolling before you get that final decision letter or anything like that. Private loans, very similar circumstances. While you aren't doing that through studentaid.gov or through those federal sites, you can generally get those processes started with whatever external servicer you are using for those loans. So yeah, you can go ahead and get started whenever you're ready to make that decision.
And just to add to what Spencer was saying, once an admit decision happens, then the Office of Financial Aid would certify your eligibility for that loan and then incorporate that into your financial aid, so you're prepared when payment due date arrives in August.
So next we have a really good question. So when we receive the package in the mail, is that the final award package? Meaning, will there be any other scholarships included in the offer?
For many students, this is the final award offer. This is everything we know about your eligibility as of today, but not necessarily for 100% of the students. As I mentioned earlier, there could be some additional competitive award decisions, and so we would say make your plans based off the information we've shared in this financial aid offer. Make any adjustments that you need in terms of pursuing parent or private student loans. And then just stay alert to your email, and in the event that you were selected at a later point for one of the competitive awards that might be a departmental scholarship or a scholarship from a general pool of merit awards that's offered by UT.
Tim, I know you mentioned that earlier, but some of my favorite conversations that I've ever had with students are when they're surprised to get aid. And get that sort of financial aid. I've had conversations even after semesters have started. I mentioned setting up a refund account. Mm-hmm. I've talked to students that, they'll call in kind of confused and say, hey, I saw that I'm getting a couple $100 back. What's going on there? And it's because they got one of those scholarships that you're talking about. And obviously that's the exception and not the rule, but go ahead and set that up, go ahead and be aware. But yeah, it's not a final look at everything. If we can have more available and are made aware of it, we get it out to students as quickly and as effectively as we can.
And UT, I'd like to add to that, offers a couple of four-year scholarships based strictly off of your grade point average and your ACT or SAT score. And some of our admitted students are very close to qualifying for either the Volunteer or the Tennessee Explorer Scholarship. And just as a reminder, we're giving the admitted students an extra 7 months this year, so you have until July 1st to potentially qualify for one of those awards. So if you know you're a point or so away from having that SAT or that ACT score to be eligible for the Volunteer Scholarship or the Tennessee Explorer Scholarship, consider retaking it if it's an option for you and you're able to participate. I believe there are a couple more opportunities between now and July 1st, and we only have to see that you earned that qualifying score by that date to become eligible. So we'll be sending out some additional notices even when we get into the summer for some of those students who elected to take an extra ACT or SAT.
Okay, so is the financial aid offer good for all 4 years?
Generally speaking, if you're offered a 4-year scholarship, there's usually specific information about the eligibility and the requirements for those particular awards. Much of the information that might be included in the financial aid offer is a snapshot of your eligibility for this freshman year. The Hope Scholarship, for example, many of our students qualify for that throughout their college career if they stay eligible and meet those ongoing requirements. And requirements are something that you need to stay aware of, because if you have been offered a 4-year award, for example, they generally require that you maintain full-time enrollment each fall and spring semester and meet certain GPA requirements to stay eligible. Some of the programs are 4-year awards, some of the programs are 1 year, and there are also competitive scholarships that are offered on a year-to-year basis, and availability of funding and really your performance as a recipient drives whether or not we're able to renew that for you in subsequent years.
All right, so now we want to know, do both in-state and out-of-state students qualify for financial aid?
Yes, absolutely they do. Our in-state students certainly do, and our out-of-state, and we're also aware, as the land-grant institution for the state of Tennessee, there can be kind of a difference when it comes to making payments between in-state and out-of-state students. Because we're mindful of that, we try to fluctuate awards accordingly. You can see those specifics on our One Stop website. But yeah, you're absolutely eligible. Sometimes the awards can be a little different because payments are different as well. But yeah, no difference there as far as whether or not you're eligible in the first place, though.
And the university's alumni office has many chapters throughout the nation, many chapters in the state of Tennessee, but also chapters in cities throughout the country. And some of those chapters also offer scholarships to students from those regions. So if you applied for admission and submitted a competitive scholarship application, it's possible you'll be considered for one of those alumni-funded awards.
So do any differences apply to international students?
Well, international student scholarships and aid in general can be very specific. I really recommend reaching out to us. One really good example, the FAFSA, which we've spoken about a few times today, that generally wouldn't be as applicable for an international student. And of course, there can be exceptions to that. And honestly, I could say that each situation, whether, international student or domestic student, it's going to be specific, an individual regardless. But especially in that case, I really recommend reaching out to us at One Stop and through our awesome Center for Global Engagement as well to learn more about the specifics that can be offered to you.
Okay, so the next question is for me, and it's asking, what has been the most helpful resource to you as a Vol? And I think I'd have to say my advisor. So you have to meet with your advisor once a semester, every semester that you're here, to schedule classes and plan for the next semester. And so it's very easy to just stick to those mandatory meetings and let it be how it is. But I think the advisor is like the best kept secret on this campus. Not only do they help explain the confusing registration process of getting into classes and all of the different things you have to register for, but they also can connect you with different places. If you're in your upperclassmen years and you're looking for internships like I am, my advisor helps me a lot with internships. Letters of recommendation, they can potentially be someone that can write one for you. They also can let you know about different things going on campus. As a freshman, it's kind of hard to know about all the different organizations you can get a part of, all the different things that you can do, and your advisor can be one of those people that can break it down for you. And because they're your advisor, they know you, and so they may know something that you don't know that they know you would be interested in, or something that you could that another opportunity could come from. So utilize your advisors when you get here, guys, because that's like the best kept secret and definitely my favorite resource. So moving on, we have, if we miss the deadline for the competitive scholarships, will we be able to apply for any that were not awarded?
Unfortunately, the application for freshman competitive scholarship application is already closed, but it is worth noting that each year as a returning student, there are brand new opportunities. And in some cases, scholarship opportunities from your intended area of a major actually get better as you progress into the program. The philosophy is that some of the departments want to wait and see how you're performing as a major. And so if you miss that opportunity to apply for freshman competitive awards, don't give up, because if you enroll this fall, by January of next year, we'll be reminding you that it's time to apply for scholarships for the following year. So for that sophomore, junior, and senior year, there are definitely opportunities to earn additional scholarships.
Okay, so I followed my FAFSA after February 1st, as I didn't realize UT had its own deadline for FAFSA. Is that going to affect me?
There are some forms of assistance that we offer to students, particularly awards that are based on high financial need. And so some of our need-based scholarships, some of the particular grants that you might qualify for may already be depleted by the time you've filed your FAFSA. So we give priority to those students who filed the FAFSA by our February 1 date. And it's really important that you try to meet that date every year. The FAFSA becomes available as early as October 1, that you can file for fall of the next actual year to learn about your eligibility for funding for that following fall spring school year. So we would just recommend if you haven't filed your FAFSA, it's not too late for some forms of assistance. Absolutely get that form in just as quickly as you're able to. In most cases, there's no reason you'd be delayed because it's based on the tax returns that were filed in the year 2020.
Okay, so this is our last question. So when is the confirmation deadline, and do you have any advice for our new Vols? So before I pass it over, I'll give some advice, and I think you guys should just really, when you get to school, try and utilize every opportunity that is given to you, because you never know what could come from you going to a certain meeting, or you joining this organization, or you being a part of whatever seminar or event that's going on. Utilize those opportunities, make connections, meet people, and be social, because that's what's going to make the most out of your experience here at UT. We want to do way more than just go to class and just, pass our classes and do academics. UT is so much more than just class, even though it is a big part. But in order to make it fun and so that you're not always stressed and you're not just hating it here, you want to get involved and you want to do more than just your basic, what you're expected to do when you come to college. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. What about you, Tim and Spencer?
I agree. I mean, I can compliment some of the things you just said. Get involved, seek out leadership, challenge yourself, because not only are you preparing your resume for the future when it's time for you to apply for jobs, and that'll help you really shine as an applicant for that amazing career that you have ahead of you, but it's also going to make you a pretty darn terrific candidate for scholarships. Many of the scholarships they're looking for, the donors have asked us to look for students who are engaged in those activities, who are involved, who are volunteering, who are seeking out leadership roles. And so we really can't say enough about really making the most of the experience, not just what's expected of you.
Absolutely. I'll just echo what both of these guys have said. I will answer your initial question by saying that the confirmation deadline is May 3rd. So if you haven't confirmed yet and you plan on it, I recommend doing it as soon as you can so you can start other processes, but by May 3rd. But honestly, we're all saying some version of, get into everything that you can, get your hands on everything that you can. And I know that can feel absolutely overwhelming. When I was in undergrad, it felt like whoa, there's just everything being thrust upon me right now, and it's all way too big for me to understand or too complex. And, like I said, I was just totally overwhelmed. Take everything that you approach just one step at a time. Because the people that are here on campus, whether it be me talking to you about financial specifics, or like Kennedy was saying, your academic advisor talking to you about those academic processes, everyone here has the job of making something that may feel overwhelming feel way more approachable. So don't let yourself feel overwhelmed. Don't let yourself feel drowned out. Know that everything that you encounter while you're here or wherever you end up is going to be something that is approachable for you. You just have to take it one step at a time. And of course, it's helpful to know people that want to help out as well.
Yes, thank you, Spencer, and thank you, Tim, for giving us all this wonderful information. And I want to thank you guys for joining us today. So this video will be saved, so if you want to reference it later, it will be available. Also, if you didn't get to ask a question or if your question didn't get answered, don't worry, because we'll continue answering questions over the next few days. Please continue to connect with us tonight virtually at our weekly 10 out of 10 event. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is going to be about all things student success.
And of course, I'll give one last shameless plug to One Stop Student Services. If you have questions about anything that we've talked about tonight, financial specifics, but not just that, enrollment services, records, or just when you get to looking at those financial specifics a little more and you have questions, we are more than happy to help. You can call us, you can email us, you can visit our website. We have a ton of useful information there. I use it on a daily basis and I work here. And then we have an awesome chat bot there as well that you can ask questions and just hang out with him. His name is Smokey. He's really cool. So we look forward to talking to you guys more as you get closer to your time with us.
Last but certainly not least, congrats, Vols! We can't wait to see you on Rocky Top, and be on the lookout for other ways to celebrate.